Exactly.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Samantha, and I am a writer and generally working right now on a romantic suspense. Excuse me. And today we are talking about the book Son of the Storm by Suyi Davies Okungbowa. I Now that I cough, hold on 1 minute.
I'll introduce myself, maybe. I'm Melissa Peters. I am an author of a young adult cozy horror called House on Highland Road. And we do these book talks once a month. So this is this month's book.
Yes, thank you. Of course, it always happens when you go live, right? And you have some stuck in your throat. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and read the back of it so you get an idea of the synopsis. It says, in the city of Bassa, Danso is a clever scholar on the cusp of achieving greatness. Only he doesn't want it. Instead, he prefers to chase forbidden stories about what lies outside the city walls. The Bassa elite claim there is nothing of interest. The city's immigrants are sworn to secrecy. But when Danso stumbles across a warrior wielding magic that shouldn't exist, he's put on a collision course with Bassa's darkest secrets. Drawn into the city's hidden history, he sets out on a journey beyond its borders, and the chaos left in the wake of his discovery threatens to destroy the empire. So, with that, I'm going to ask you these questions and we'll just move from there. So, in general, what did you think of the book? What did you like? What you didn't like? Or overall, what did you think?
Um, that's a big question. So fantasy, it used to be a huge something I read all the time. But as we were just talking, I think I would describe what I read as high fantasy, whereas this is epic fantasy. Um, so it wasn't quite my cup of tea, especially now that I mostly read thrillers. Um, but overall, like I think it was well written. Um, yeah, I feel like some of it probably could have been cut out because it is epic fantasy. And I like fast-paced books, and this is fantasy, so it was kind of drawn out and descriptive. But,
Yeah, definitely. This is more what I like as far as the genres that I've been into lately versus the thrillers that you've been into. So it is much more my speed, meaning like I do really enjoy some of the description, right? But that does really slow it down quite a bit. And um, overall, I thought the idea of the book was pretty good, and the writing. Um, I felt the writing was good as well. I agree with you that maybe there's a bit much that could have then really been condensed a little bit and been shaved to make it a little bit more quick pace, for sure.
mhm.
Do you have like a favorite part? Anything that was interesting to you that came out that you weren't expecting, maybe, if not an
Um,
absolute favorite part?
well, I guess I wouldn't say I wasn't expecting it because it's fantasy, so you do expect some sort of magic system. It
Mhm.
takes quite a while to get to the point where the magic system is mentioned. Um, but I think once that was brought up and elaborated on, it was pretty interesting. I like the idea of the magic system.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily need the step-by-step learning curve that one of the characters goes through to learn. I feel like that maybe could have been cut down as well, but
Mhm.
it was
The
interesting.
training sequence, you would think the train that's like, you know, the main thing, right? No.
Well, maybe the
Um,
second training sequence with the sheme, that makes sense. The first training sequence maybe not so much.
right. There's multiple people learning this magic system, so understood for sure. Yeah, for me, it wasn't really like a favorite part in like it was more like the setting. I liked the breathing forest setting. I don't know, I just like forest in general, I guess. And so and I'm so used to seeing forests in fantasies. you know, like everyone goes through the forest. Don't go in the forbidden forest. Everyone does it in a fantasy. So I don't know why, but I still like forests despite that trope.
Um, the forest reminded me a lot of, I forget what the forest is called in Princess Bride, but when they go into the woods and there's rodents of unusual size.
Yes, size, yes. ROUSSS, yes. Don't go. Yeah. And that's kind of like every fantasy that I've read with the forest. It's always,
Hmm.
no, they won't follow you. So you have to go through the forest because the people won't follow you through the forest.
And they all
And
somehow survive.
yep, exactly. So, um, did you have a favorite character or ones that you wanted to learn more about?
Yeah, I would have liked to know, and I think this might come out in the further books in the series, but I would have liked to know more about Danso's mother. I think she
Mhm.
poses a mystery. And on the same like sort of topic, her Danso's dad was pretty cool. I thought like he is kind of seen as the strict father figure, but I think he has his reasons. And then Asheme's mother, um, for the same reason, but she takes a completely opposite approach to Danso's dad. But they both are trying to protect their children in exactly opposite ways. So I kind of like them.
Right. It's like seeing how different people love their children, right?
Mhm.
And protect them. One is teaching them in a certain way, and the other one is teaching them, but yeah, a very different way for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually liked Lee Long. Um, I think I partly because I like Lee Long as a strong woman, right? And to me, she was somebody who could, she didn't trust anybody. That was quite evident. And I think of all the characters that we saw in this book, she was probably, to me, the only one that really changed enough to actually see it on the page.
Mhm.
And so to kind of go from this strong, I don't trust anybody, and you shouldn't really have compassion with about anything, to having some compassion and some understanding for what Danso and Zach and these other people are going through. So um, it it wasn't as big of a change as I would have liked to see in general, but I still thought her change was much more evident on the page.
Mhm.
So that's why I liked her, I think, the best overall. Um, would you read another book by this author?
Maybe if it was a different book, but probably not, just because this wasn't quite my style of book.
Right,
I didn't get pulled into it and escape into a different world as much as I would have liked through this one.
right. If I I can't say that I wouldn't read it. I would like to see how the next book starts. Um, and but kind of with you, there are things about this that I was just it's like, well, do is it pulling me enough to read more in this series? And I'm not sure it did for me. Um, now, if he decided to write a thriller, possibly, right? Like I don't know. I don't know how that would come across with his writing style.
I would probably read another book by him, but I'm not sure I'd read more in the series just because it didn't captivate me the way I would have liked to be captured.
Yeah, yeah. Um, all right. Did the ending resolve all your questions?
For now, no, not really. There's the mom. I want to know more about the mom, but I know it's a series. Like it's very clearly
Right. Yeah.
a series. So yes, because I know the book, the questions in this book, I think were mostly answered. But
Mhm.
you know that there's more coming because the Sheme will not let things go. So
Right. Yeah, there's the Chame is very vindictive in general. So, and yeah, and the same thing. It's very evident from the very beginning that this is not a one book, right? We already know, and the next one is already out. It's one of the challenges of reading a book that's been out for a couple of years. It's like there's no guessing, right? You
yeah,
already know those things. So on my last question in general of do you expect a series from this would be yes.
it is a
There
series.
is a series. Yes, for sure. Um, let's see. Okay, book structure and flow of events. How did that work for you?
Um, I feel like it could have maybe started a bit later in the book. Like the book could have started a bit later. Um, but I mean, it works. There's a lot of world building at the beginning because it's a fantasy and it's a new world. Um,
Mhm.
and so that is beneficial to the book. I think overall the story structure flowed well. Um, I didn't break it down into plot points, but I think it hits the ones it needed to hit. So
Right. I think for me, overall, the series events were fairly easy to follow. The part that was a little challenging was always moving from point of view to point of view, and because there's multiple point of views. It's not just the main character Danso and the secondary character Sheme, but there's I think in total 8 points of view, and that really breaks up kind of the concentration of one, who's the main character, and two, where are we? Um, it's so, and because we're going from this direct, maybe we're over here in the forest, but now we're in Bassa, and now we're in Hudan, and now we're in Bassa, and then so it also makes it a little bit more difficult to follow just because of that, but not to the point where I didn't understand where we were while reading it. So, do you think the way it was?
we've frozen. She'll come back though, I'm sure. But I don't have a list of questions in front of me, so I can't answer any questions. I'll just wait. I don't know if it's recording me or her, but if you have read the book and you'd like to comment about what you thought about it, please let us know what you thought about the book, or if you feel like you'd like to read it, let us know that too. I better not sing. Nobody wants to hear that. We might have to pause and come back. Yep, it's just me. She'll be back. Do I think? I don't know what the question was going to be. And so it became a very boring live stream. There
Okay,
you are.
surprise.
I was being very unentertaining by myself.
You're like, please hold. Where's that multicolored screen
I,
that says
yeah, I was thinking we should get that for next time.
I usually don't have any issues, and my modem is literally practically right underneath. So weird.
Yeah, it's usually me with the issues.
Yeah, but they're like, no, you don't want to answer that. Don't answer that question.
Well, all I heard was "do you" or "do you think?" So
Right.
I don't
So
actually know
we're,
what the question was.
yeah. So we're talking about kind of how the story was flowing, and I said, do you think it served the story well? But then kind of when I talked about with the points of view shifting things a little bit, that was more my answer for if it served
Yeah.
the story well. I think that broke it up more than I would like.
And I would agree. It wasn't until about halfway through that I finally remembered who Danso was. Each time we got back to his perspective, I was like, "Who's Danso?" And I think it's just there were so many characters, and I hadn't known them well enough.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and also I do find because you listened to the majority of it,
mhm.
that when there's a lot of point of view characters, it's much more, at least for me, it's much more difficult because in the book, every chapter is listed with the
But
name.
they
So,
do list it in the audiobooks.
oh, do
There's
they?
that long pause, and then they're like, "Danso." Um,
Okay.
I,
Yes,
at least I think they
I
did.
still have a hard
Um,
time. That's just me. Like, I'm a visual person. So when I listen to something, it doesn't register as well as when I'm looking at it. So,
I do so much better with focus when I'm doing something with my hands. So I was
oh,
stitching
okay.
and listening.
Well, nice. Okay. Yeah, I just can't do that. I'm multi, like anything, trying to do two things at once. I'm apparently just not very good at. So,
Unless I'm in like deeply in a book, I'm constantly setting it down and going to get something or picking at my nails or like
hmm.
if I'm sucked into it though, then I'm good at sitting there and reading for a while. But otherwise, it takes me quite a while because I'm just getting distracted.
Got it. Understood. Um, did anything surprise you or plot twists you didn't expect?
Not really, I don't think. I don't think
Mhm.
there wasn't a moment where I was like, oh wow, um, I didn't see that coming. Like I feel like it was all kind of expected.
I was a little, I don't know, trying not to be a spoiler here for all of our viewers in the future, but um, the end and what happened to the community of Udasha, like that kind of surprised me as far as it, like,
Yeah, I guess I didn't expect that. It does make it
so,
easier going forward.
right? True. But that was a little, that I was like, what? Why would they do that? That's
Yeah,
to me contrary to self-preservation. But in case I couldn't be vague enough, I'm trying. Um, were there any characters that stood out to you most outside of like Nem and Haba?
I don't really think so.
Mhm. I think the next one is like whether you felt like you related or connected to anyone. And I know I didn't really at all. Just not,
Yeah.
their personalities aren't anything like me. So trying to connect is very difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't have said I connected with anyone particularly either. I felt
You
bad
think,
for Zach and his situation, but at the same time, he wanted it to change, but he wasn't willing to make any changes. So you can only feel so bad for somebody. Like they have to take the
right,
responsibility for their own actions. So
right. Yeah. I am. I mean, as a character, Asheme is interesting. I felt her her character was a little, I would say, I don't know what the right word is, like flippant or not, inconsistent. I think
hmm.
maybe that's a better word. Um, and how I understand her is because at times I'm like, wait a minute, is she like this or is she like this? And so that stood out to me, but I don't know if it's because was that contradiction on purpose to make people go, what? Or or not. Because I mean, we all are contradictory in our own ways. So, but I don't know if that was
I know.
you
I
know,
was hating on prologues a couple weeks ago, and now I might have a prologue in my next book. So
see what I mean? Next thing you know, you're going to be reading a ton of epic fantasy.
maybe.
You never know.
I feel like it's a winter read for me. Like I feel like epic fantasy is more of a winter type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Any characters that could do a spin-off?
Yeah, like I feel like all of them really. Like I would have liked the Long's backstory to be. She told it, but I would have liked it to be like it could have been part of the book itself if we were going to go down her perspective more. Zach's story and his lover story could have been a spin-off. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of characters with a lot of history that could have had their own story. Uh-oh, I think you froze again. I should really get the list on my phone because I don't know what the next question is either. I have the Jeopardy song playing in my head, but I will not sing it for people. And we're back. Yay.
And we're back for a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. It still says I'm having issues.
It's such a relief not to be the one with internet problems this time.
This is where I call AT&T because I have really strong internet. So, but apparently not today. um, okay, so yeah, spin-offs. I think because we have so many point of view characters, we find out just enough about them that it does pique a little bit more curiosity than if they were non POV characters.
Right.
So I would agree that there's a lot of like, oh, okay, though that could dive into this area or down this branch of the story. Mm-hmm. The setting. So did the setting support the story?
I think so. It was a little strange that I guess he was reading old text, so that's how he knew about the surrounding area outside of Bassa. Um, but it was a little strange how Bassa's so tightly locked down, but they had really no problem getting out of the city and getting to the forest.
Right. That's a good point. I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah. So I mean, the setting works, but at the same time, I feel like they should have had to go through the sewer or something to get out of the city. Uh-oh, you froze again. I'll keep talking in case people can hear me and not her. Um, for the setting, so they have the city of Bassa. They have a whole bunch of different areas, but mainly we're in the city of Bassa, the breathing forest, then Udon, I think. And from there they go to the dead mines. And I don't think any of that is a spoiler. Um, it feels pretty convenient how they can just go in one direction and get to where they're going. But it's a fantasy, it's fiction. You get to do what you want with that. So, um, oh, she'll be back soon. And there is a map provided at the front of the book that shows me all these places that maybe I should have looked at before this. Um, yeah, it's all fairly well linked. It's a little out of their way to go into the breathing forest, so that's acceptable.
Okay. So maybe we should start wrapping it up because
All
apparently
right.
internet is not being cooperative today. But
We talked a lot about the map for a while, so
right. So, so kind of in, I guess, let's just in general wrap it up that,
Sure.
as far as setting, to me, I thought it was okay. I think you could have played a lot more with the setting and made it more of kind of a character,
Mhm.
um, and really had it um, bring more obstacles to everyone. But for the book in general, I would say I think he's a good writer. He understands the plot points of the of fantasy. Um, so and I like the general gist of the story.
Yeah,
So
I would agree. Um, Hi, epic fantasy is not my cup of tea, but that is okay. Everyone has a different genre
right.
they like here, and we all read differently, which helps everyone out. I write thriller, well, I write cozy horror. So there's got
Yeah,
to be someone out there for everything.
that's right. Exactly. So this is more my cup of tea than yours, but that is perfectly okay. So I guess from here, so we this is our last book talk for now. Anyway, we have decided at this point not to continue to do them for a variety of reasons. So, but we will more than likely be doing then a live stream productivity sprint on the last Tuesday of the month instead of the book talk. So, um, and we will be doing one of those next week on Melissa's channel. So,
August.
yeah, August already. So be sure to join us for that and let us know what you're working on. So if anyone comes by later, thank you so much for coming and for standing through the internet issues. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.